Yo, what's up? Check it out. It's your boy DJL7. As you know, I've been interviewing actors from all over the world, straight up. And I'm very excited about today's interview because this is actually someone who I started working with recently, and I really with other programs I'm working with, we're gonna be working together in the future. This is definitely lined up. So I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm the Honorable Dion Powell of the 79th Assembly District here in the Bronx, New York. I'm here with DJ L. We actually met a year ago in the streets over there by City Hall and some other areas, fighting this COVID mandate stuff for medical freedom and so forth. I'm a county committeeman here in the Bronx, which means a pro bono elected official. I represent a small area. Also, I'm with Blexit, New York, to help us change the narrative for African Americans. I'm also the founder of the Bronx, New York Free Thinking Democrats. And I guess you want to know how do I get into this activism stuff, right?
Yeah,
So,
actually, yeah, well, exactly.
so God has humbled me in this experience of running for office, being in politics, and community leadership. I've never considered myself an activist. I've strayed away from that word. Being part of the first student government in America at the City College of New York, activists always been fighting the power, yelling and screaming in the streets, sign holding. But at the end of the day, when that energy goes away, it's like, what happens next? What's the policy? What changes have been made other than I want to be an activist and fight these different issues as they come up. But then once another Hydra head pops up, they run over there. Then this over here is left for somebody else to figure out. But I will say this: Blexit, New York, started by Candace Owens and Brandon Tatum, controversial African American pundits politically and civically, actually helped me become an activist, I guess. In which during 2020, during the COVID-19 pandemic, New York City was like the most oppressed, in my opinion, with mandates, and then became the vaccine mandate in order to keep your job, your business, go to school, and get access to certain things. Being an activist, I guess, became real for me in the fall of 21 when I became the director of outreach and partnerships for Blexit and then the director of City of New York. Because of these mandates and these red pilling situations, we've actually gotten chapters in 46 states in America and growing. California has a lot of chapters and they're very blue. And I'm in the Bronx, the bluest county in America, yet always the poorest county in America at 1.4 million people. And having said that, when the mandate came out, as a county committee walking around the hood, my man was blowing it down. He showed me his phone, say, "Yo, Dion, take this out. I'll lose my job at the hospital if I don't get vaccinated by November 18th. I won't be able to collect unemployment. I lose my pension and all my benefits." I said, "Wow." He's like, "Yeah, I'm not taking no vaccine, mark of the beast, usual hood complaints." So I started looking into this. So I Googled vaccine mandate, lawyer, Google. Nothing came up. So I was like, "Oh wow, this is interesting." That's when it became real for me that something needs to be done. I'm not saying clandestine, but it's not good to have not even one representative as counsel to help you with any situation. So by the time I came back to look into it, my boy already took the jab. All the tough guys in the hood, the thugs, gangsters, they took it after talking all that because they wanted to save their lifestyle. And then there was a whole bunch of perks that the government kept pushing in your face about, hey, we'll give you $100 if you get vaccinated. I even heard rumors on the internet in Louisiana, we'll even expunge your criminal record if you get vaccinated. All this kind of delicious freebie coercion actually made me more driven to actually find solutions to help people that were not going to get vaccinated, like myself. I'll put it out there. I give them the support tools they needed. So one of the first events I helped spearhead with Blexit was Blexit New York with Lexit New York, our Latino counterpart, anti-mandate workers' rights forum. We had Dr. Levinsky, I think his name is, present the medical exemptions. We had Trisha Lindsay, PC, Black law firm, present her legal services. We had Pastor Earl Wallace talk about the religious exemptions in that format. We also had John Gilmore talk about the civic piece, like who represents you and how to contact them. And me, I'm like run for office because all our elected officials on the blue team fell online. Gave our governor King Cuomo emergency powers. All kinds of overreach was happening back to back, back to back. And from there, I was like, okay. I started doing events and activities like that with Blexit, back to school choice event we did recently, parental options for homeschooling, private schools, funding, because the kids there, the schools and the vaccine mandates. And it also became real to me when certain things in the system didn't make sense. In which one of my people was like, "Hey, Dion, I'm in graduate school. I'm taking all my classes virtually, and I can't get my master's degree if I'm not vaccinated in CUNY or SUNY." And I'm like, "That makes no sense." Exactly, Dion. Please look into this for me before I really flip out. I said, "Okay, I'll see what I can do." And so in the streets with me and yourself in City Hall, some others, everybody had a role to play. But me, every time I was in there, I was a person with resources, tools necessary, start your own business. It's okay to homeschool. There's no stigma about it. Here's tools, resources you need for you and your child, and funding. And also when I found the right to choose people, or medical freedom people in late 2021, they were demonized. We all were demonized for not taking the vaccine. You're killing people every breath you take, every move you make. And so they said, "Mr. Powell, we're so happy you and Blexit found us because white guilt, we're clueless how to outreach the African American community. And these mandates going to hurt them more than us." And they called the Civil Rights Act as if they were NAACP. Now, mind you, I'm a member of the Bronx NAACP. I've been a member of Urban League, Young Professionals, National Action Network, Art for Justice, a lot of Black organizations. With Blexit, we're like the only ones besides Black Lives Matter who made a statement. We are the ones that were constructively providing solutions in New York City to help unify everybody. But mentioning Black Lives Matter, that's going to get you the controversy you need. In these streets, the first rally we did at City Hall, we had like mad people. We had people with Black Lives Matter t-shirts. You had people with MAGA t-shirts, and we were all out there together. My regret in life is to actually not take a picture of all of us together. Me, my Blexit t-shirt, man, and NAACP, MAGA, Black Lives Matter, Trump, all people together like this, because those pictures was sending shockwaves around the world, how united we were across the board. I did it previously with a MAGA t-shirt, Black Lives Matter t-shirt, but that was after the George Floyd situation. I said it to say in closing, I don't really consider myself an activist, but I'm flattered in the sense that the definition for activists like me is an advocate for the people for a specific cause in which goes against the grain of the mainstream system.
Like that, man. That was real dope, man. Appreciate that. Now the thing is, it sounds like before you became active in 2021, right? Really, mostly around the COVID issue. Before, it sounds like you were aware, you were getting involved with different organizations trying to impact your community. What helped you to realize that something in community, right, needed assistance, right? What was
Oh,
that?
that goes back to the Democratic Kool-Aid machine in the Bronx. 1.4 million people, 1.3 million Democrats registered, let's say, for example. But historically, we're the most Democratic, we're always most porous. It's like people can't see through that besides me. Once you start seeing through that, then your journey begins by the rabbit bunny hole, as it were. And that's when I kept trying to make people aware about the disparities caused by being monopolized by this political party and how these people and their associates make so much money off our poverty. And that developers come in all the time and they don't vote in the Bronx, but they have so much access to resources and do so many things. Whereas you are being, I won't say manipulated, but the historical voting machine has made you think voting is your superpower, when actuality is beyond that. I don't guilt and shame anybody to vote as long as you know how the system works, community boards, navigating. Who actually is your city council person? If you talk all this stuff about Biden and Trump and these issues, and I come to you and I say, well, who is your city council person? Who's your New York State Assembly person? Who is your New York State Senator? If you can't answer those questions, stop voting and figure those questions out and contact those people. I'll give another plug. Who represents me in New York? mynewyorkgov.org. Go there, put in your address, see those people, state, city, and federal, community board. Contact everybody, email them, call them. I challenge anybody. And I said, before you vote, call these people and say, hey, my name is so and so. I live in your district. What can you do for me? Sit back and let them impress you. Say, I want to be added to your e-blast to see what's going on. If you're not satisfied, you should do a few things. Say, hey, you know what? I'm not voting again. Because you already realized Jehovah's Witnesses don't vote, and they're okay. As long as you can tell me how to apply for this student forgiveness. One of the things I've done as an activist, I guess you could say, is I've been promoting a radical idea called child support forgiveness. HRA has a program called Pay It Off, which people who have child support arrears, they'll match their funding. Now, this year, they're doing up to like $15,000. And that's the radical thinking. I said, well, if we're all about free stuff and student loan forgiveness and credit forgiveness, why can't we have child support forgiveness? And then people say, until people is told that it's good by these others, then they don't see the bigger game. And when I ran for office in 2020, I realized on my platform the three things that'll break poverty in a system for us here in the Bronx, especially, is access to ownership, access to leadership, and access to capital. We don't own anything in the South Bronx, let's say. So everything's free. So we don't value it, right? We don't have money to connect it to the ownership. We don't have leadership roles in our community. Well, nonprofit leaders that's supposed to help us aren't from our community, and they always tell us what's good for us. The developers buying out the property, we're renting, thinking it's a good thing. We're thinking public assistance is a good thing. Public housing is a good thing, and all these wonderful things. But as soon as people in the South Bronx have access to ownership, leadership, and capital, the more education they have, the more income they have, the more responsibilities they have, the more traveling they have, the more stores they sell things out of in their community, then the dangerous thing is the more conservative the mindset become. Because as long as every day is a holiday and everything's free, you don't follow anything, even yourself.
I agree with that a lot. I like that a lot. Yeah. So another question that I have is there's a lot of people in the game, right, calling themselves activists, whatever, right? I'm appreciate your distinction, by the way, right? What are you most proud of achieving as an organizer or as an activist?
I'm proud of this theory. Now, think about it, is Rep My Block, in which, that's how I became a county committeeman. RepMyBlock.org, Theo Chino, it's like Yoda, running for office myself, encouraging and supporting others to run for office, become a consultant in my own right to help people run for office and help Black-owned businesses, nonprofits, faith-based organizations, special interest groups, enable our community to get the three things: ownership, leadership, and capital. Also being a part of Blexit and having this whole realm of fellow like-mindeds together. And my proudest moment out of all that, now that I think about it as I'm pontificating, is some of our young members in Blexit. This one girl, this one guy, her name is Michelle. She goes to York College. She met us on the internet for all the things I've been doing, clicking, all that stuff. And she comes to our meeting from Queens to the South Bronx to our first general meeting at a Pizza Flower. And she looks just so proud, like, hey, welcome to Blexit. This is us. She said, yeah, I'm glad you guys existed because I was just so bullied in college for being a Black Republican. And the first thing I said to her, like I said to so many minorities when they find me or I encounter them, was like, first of all, you are not alone. You're not the only one that thinks this way, feels this way. You're not crazy. You're not a sellout. You have more people like you that feel like you for our people going forward. Welcome to Blexit. And for her, that was another thing. Then I ran into Jude Sumfun. He's a Black brother. He's in charge of the New York City Young Republicans Black Caucus, doing the same democratic socialist form of identity politics for outreach on the conservative side. So far, I was with another one. Who gets it? We clicked from day one. We met in the Young Republicans clubhouse, and he's been pushing it too. These young generations have helped inspire to move forward with getting more of us to think the way about, family values, Black ownership, school choice, self determination are great. But Michelle impressed me. We were at the African American Day Parade, and we had lunch after marching with Blexit, him and some other people, and we're at Jimbo's Burgers over there in Harlem by Harlem Hospital. So I had a crazy friend from DC come up, and she's spouting her usual, script. Oh yeah, the ancestors and slavery and reparations. And she went out with Michelle. Michelle just held her own by putting facts over feelings. So every time she came up with, well, slavery, Michelle's like, no, slavery's still going on today. Our people were enslaved by Africans being sent here. Boom, boom, boom. And no matter how contentious it was, Michelle just kept her cool and just coming back with facts. As she said, well, what about the ancestors? You're disrespecting the ancestors by going by the European model. She said, yeah, but we have these systems in place according to the United States Constitution. But I was just so proud of her. And then they got to the killing subject, which was abortion. And I just sat back. Let me see how these two Black women let it play out. Well, the Black women members are there. She's like, yes, abortion is wrong. Roe v. Wade was designed to destroy us and our culture. Designed by blah, blah, blah. She said, but people need access to abortion. Things happen. She said, no, we have self-control. We are not animals. We can decide when and when to have sex. And she quoted again. She said, well, Roe v. Wade was actually based on a lie. And, the Supreme Court is actually not taking away women's rights to choose. The Supreme Court just sending it back to lower to the state level. And I was just so proud of Michelle, I could cry. And then I texted her. She said, yeah, Dion, thank you for today. You inspired me. I look up to you and blah, blah. I said, Queen, anything you like, you call me. So now she's actually trying to become a banker, and I gave her some more tools. Like, you want to become a banker, but here's some tools with Coursera. Become a CPA, get your PMP, project manager certification, and you know that kind of. But that just melted my heart to see how our people are so trying to indoctrinate us with the same knife in the womb of slavery, but it controls our mindset and defeat its victimization attitude. So with Michelle, I am so hopeful for the future. And then another, I just want to Marilyn Gonzalez, another one of our young members. So we had the back to school choice event a month or two ago. And so I had the National Black Home Educators Association, the National Homeschoolers Association. I had the Children's Fund to provide financial scholarships to send kids to private school and stuff like that. Options. So the first thing the guy said, he said, "My name is TJ Smith. I'm the general counsel for the Homeschoolers Defense Association, and I'm a product of homeschooling." You could feel everybody in my Zoom, 50 plus. It's like the stigma was lifted. Everybody felt so at ease. And then Marilyn comes up at the end when I do my networking piece. She said, "You know what? I feel as I can grow up when I have kids. I can homeschool, and it's okay. And I have the resources. Thank you, Dion." And it's like, my heart just melted. And that's recharges my spiritual battery for this work. Because there's been times when my people disgust me so much, I just want to give up, walk away, and do something else, which happens a lot in this game, believe it or not. Because the people will turn on you. When you have a certain knowledge, skill set above and beyond the normal proletariat, then you'll start to see through the matrix. I'll give you an example because I'm talking too much. I was in a project at my first candidate forum in the projects. The question came up: these kids need jobs and summer jobs, the usual. Because I know how the systems work, and you give a quality answer, direct answer. The public is so used to the usual fluff, they can't really ingest it. And then another thing, the problem we have in society is when there's a problem, when you actually have a solution to the problem, some people can't really appreciate that because they will change so many things else. Here was my answer. I said, if these kids want jobs, this is what I do if I was elected. I would change the Summer Youth Employment Program qualifications from ages 14 to 24 back to ages 14 to 17. That way, all the young people in that demographic will be guaranteed a job and they'll be a surplus. Because people from 18 to 24 are adults, and there's other job workforce programs catered towards them. And that's what needs to happen. These people wanted to run me out of the hood and kill me because I said that. What about this, that? Oh, you can't do that. And that's when the Hydra heads, as I just cut off, keep multiplying with the problems. But as you can see, I clearly answered the question. I gave a solution that would actually work, but I told them how. And that's what makes a double-edged sword that we're fighting here.
Yo, I appreciate that, Lat. And just so you know, the question about what you have achieved is really to differentiate activists that get it done versus theoreticians. There's a lot of fake activists that are inserted into the game who've never achieved anything, never accomplished anything. They sit and read some books, and somehow they think they understand how the world works. So,
That's what's
yeah,
dangerous because you
it
have
really
those people
is.
up there and they tell the hood and people like me are poor what's good for you. And this is the
Yeah,
program that should solve your problems. And defund the police. And we need to close Rikers. And, all these wonderful programs and systems that they come into place to save us. And we need to have more access to affordable abortions because that's a good thing. Sex education and critical race theory and all these wonderful things. But at the end of the day, historically, in the 60s, affirmative action,
yeah,
diversity, inclusion, all these things that make you feel good, social justice and inequity. What do we have to show for?
yeah. And people need to earn their way up. You know what I mean? Exactly. What do we have to show for it? You should be able to show concrete, right? You said you're proud of joining Rep My Block, and you're actually a committee person right now, county committee person right
Mm-hmm.
now.
That's
You're
right.
successful. You have other things that you can line up, right? Some people have nothing to say in that category, or they cannot even answer. They should be that should be looked at critically, right? Anyways, so before you said the word socialist, you said the word anarchist in another conversation we had. Do you have any particular ideology that helps inform your thoughts or ideas?
Well, sometimes people like to be in these little silos and buckets with labels. So, to give you my opinion about things, socially, politically, ideologically, pragmatism, moderate. I thought I was these things until I helped a client run for city council he told me a new concept in 2021 called centrist. And I actually helped start the Bronx Libertarian Party. I'm a Democrat on paper. At this point, my answer is why? Because I just want to influence the primary. Because New York City, with so many Democrats, that's where it's at. So starting the Bronx Libertarian Party and being along with the Libertarians, I know that, like I said earlier with the Summer Youth Program, that we just want common sense, answers, and solutions. Larry Sharp, believe it or not, who actually helped the Libertarians get violent access in New York City, when I first met him in person, outside of Candy Farms, whatever, in the Royal Coach Diner in Northeast Bronx, he said, Dion, you know how we can actually solve this deficit and all these problems here in New York City? He said, I said, well, Larry, how can we get some more money? He said, well, all we need is the Brooklyn Bridge. Just imagine, Dion, if we took the Brooklyn Bridge and slapped the Coca-Cola sign on the Brooklyn Bridge, a nice neon, and we rebranded the Coca-Cola Bridge, imagine how much revenue New York City would have.
Yeah.
I said, really, Larry? How's that work? He said, well, number one, we release the Coca-Cola. We make Coca-Cola pay the maintenance fees and all kind of repairs. And the thing is, Coca-Cola would be more than willing to do that because every other subject line in news, morning, noon, and night, about that bridge would say Coca-Cola Bridge. And you'll have so much free promo publicity around the world and in present day, people walking around ships, planes, that it'll be a win for everybody. And I said, poof, that makes sense. That's how it would work. Why and when? And I said, Larry,
you see this right here?
What's that?
That's my libertarian bumper sticker right there. I'm an official member of the Libertarians as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have the libertarianism on my old laptop too in the back. That's just pretty cool. And that's like, wow, that actually fixes the problem. You can't be crying broke anymore and then wasting money on other things. And that's when I was like, you know what? We can solve problems with the right people in this governmental structure. But the problem with democracy, that Socrates, who I've been compared to at times, is that democracy lets anybody participate in control of systems that might not be qualified by voting. And so I'm not saying there should be a test, but Socrates only one of the most elite, smart individuals that know how things work to be able to vote, instead of people saying, any, meeny, miny, mo, this person should be in charge. And the thing is, I commend anybody that runs for office, no matter what, socialist or conservative, in which that you put yourself out there and to try to actually make a change, and your qualifications are nothing but be 18, popular, do your paperwork, and win, no matter how. And that's what's so amazing about this whole situation. And that's why politics, like I tell people in the hood, you got prior records, you can kill people, you can be this, that, and the third, but you can still do it. And that's why it's industry as the way it is.
There's a lot of truth in that. Word up, man. A lot of truth. I'm really looking forward to working with you. That's God's truth. Okay, so the thing is that as you know, wait, just to get clear up the last thing. So I guess you really kind of transcend the labels, right? Yeah, you don't really have any.
No, well, the first thing is I want to make sure people know what the labels are.
Okay.
And this is why I'm dangerous, my friend. Let me see if I can pull one out. And this is where it all begins. This is what you call a voter registration form. And if you open one of these bad boys up, I got some show and tell. I love when I do show and tell. And you turn to question number 14 on the voter application form. It's dangerous because question 14 is, oh wow, look at you.
I got mine too.
You about that life.
About that. Let's go.
So question 14 actually asks you what political party you would like to be a part of. Or you could check off blank in which you are a regular voter that's independent, not a part of Independence Party. Fine. Minutia. But the thing is, one of our Blexit members brought to my attention. Because me, I was like, God has humbled me. I was like, I'll never do a voter registration drive because that's a gimmick. You need to activate the voters you already have on the roster. Otherwise, you're making new voters who will vote, and the vote is their voice, and then it won't be heard, and they'll ever vote again because they don't see the results. And that's why voters turn out low, 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 low. So anyway, she said, Dion, you got to explain the civic stuff because I felt as though I was lied to at 18 when I registered to vote. Because when I asked them, vote these parties, they would say, well, the Democrats are for the poor and the minority, and the Republicans are for the elite and the rich. And she said, yeah, by that information, I just checked with Democrat. But the way you're explaining these political parties, I am not a Democrat. I'm one of these others. So what I did was a voter registration and education drive. This is when some people in the NAACP don't like me. But I said, I'm just going to focus on question 14. And I'm going to vote, registrate, and I'm going to update. So what happened was when I did my voter registration and education table, two people, one person changed their party from Democrat to Conservative Party. Another person changed their party from Democrat to the Working Families Party because they didn't know these things existed, but they hated being a Democrat. And I was like, hey, well, here's an assessment tool on the website. You put in the questionnaire options, and they use the percentages of what political party you align with based on your answers in the survey. And some people didn't even care to do that. They just wanted to know, they were just happy to know there's other options besides the red team and blue team. And actually, we check the system on the computer to see if they actually register a party. Because they're like, well, how come I couldn't vote in June? You check the system. Well, you're not registered with Democrat or Republican, and they have primaries. And these are the intricacies you need to know if you should be a part of the voting process. Because if you don't, then people are just racism. People just be like, patriot, and then you're just going in there, oh, yes, 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 it feels good. But that's again when you put the facts over the feeling.
Okay. Besides you know, the labels and stuff like that, sometimes people develop you know, that they have someone that's influential to their style of organizing or activism, right? Like they may have read, like being American, right? I read Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. You don't really learn so much about activists from other countries. I'm aware of some of them, right? Not so much from Asia, which would be nice, but hard to really learn about that information here. Um, but are there anybody who's influential to your style? Or
Oh well, well, there's certain people I've actually observed, but I want to take it to the Asian first and work backwards. Internationally, WhatsApp is a very dangerous device in this present day because it gives you so much information on the ground internationally that the government wouldn't let normally see through these regular channels. And the thing about Asia, like Africa, is that if you have people on the ground there, you can say, hey, what's really going on? Case in point, COVID. They said, oh my God, the South African variant, everybody, the COVID, we got to be careful. And so I heard my friend in South Africa, like, yo, what's going on? Now we're good, Dion. That's just Johannesburg and Cape Town where all those white people are, and they're spreading the damn disease. We're good over here in the countryside. That's where it's like, all right, propaganda. Now with Asian, recently, I admire some leaders. I don't know their names, but if you watch the leaders that they did the China mandate lockdowns, they were so coordinated with their activism and shutting things down with systems and the computers. I was like, oh my God, these guys are great. I don't know if you saw that. Like they had these little monitors because even with George Floyd, the NYPD has certain devices. So you couldn't live stream certain things at certain times to see what was
yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah.
going on. But the Asians in China, they had the equivalent and they were circumventing everything. Now that's the present day activism I would say is effective. There's one thing I challenge my people with the voting. I said, well, how can you expect 1960s tactics to work in 21st century? And that's when the Asians got it right in China. Some other countries do the same thing of that caliber. But if I had to put a name on certain people that actually I'm kind of like, there's some of the people that I'll take some people I actually call geniuses now. You know what I mean? And I don't use that word. God is humble. I'm using words of things that I don't normally use. But Thomas Sowell is one that's an academic that I want to grow up to be like. Because Thomas Sowell can actually break it down with common sense, two dangerous words, with other two C words, which is called critical thinking, based off history, based off being in economics. And I just watched Kanye West, and I'm not really a hip hop head. I went to Capitol, right? Kanye West's interview with Tucker Carlson actually got me to acknowledge that he is a genius, you know, and he's grown in a sense that one time Kanye West was like, hey, I actually, George Bush hates black people. All black people, yeah, he hates black people. But then he started growing, got money, got educated, got spiritual growth, and then he started seeing people differently, like Ice Cube and Lil Wayne's like, okay, I've matured, but this is how I feel and why. I'm a husband, I have children, and this is the way I see reality. And now it's like, okay. And there's some other people I'm actually like too. Kim Klacik. Now I think about it as I'm pontificating and searching for a crack brand. Kim Klacik ran for Congress against the machine as a Republican woman. If you Google Kim Klacik in the View, Kim Klacik actually went up against Joy Beauregard and Whoopi Goldberg and held her own. She said Baltimore is a disaster, controlled by Democrats. It's always been a Democrat. And she got it. And she held a home with Joy Behar and said, hey, Joy, you actually wore blackface. You did this. So how you gonna call me a sellout? Blah, blah, blah. And she fought the fight. So Kim Klacik is a person that I guess I would admire. I'm not a Republican, but she actually fought the machine in a productive way. She was cool with Candace Owens until they had a falling out, unfortunately. But if you Google Kim Klacik, Baltimore, The View, things like that, you'll see her journey. Her video alone, YouTube, of her walking around Baltimore and its post-apocalyptic areas, saying the Democrats have done this damage to us, I'm running for office, have millions of views, and that's how she got to national acclaim. So Kim Klacik is actually somebody, as an activist, as it were, I guess I could try to be like screaming at the top of your lungs from the gutter that things are wrong because of all these blue people.
Right. Okay. So the activist for me also, right, everybody has different definitions. The activist also includes the organizer element, right? So all the work that you've done, like, in terms of like approaching the system, talking to candidates, right? Yeah. Organize people, getting them together in meetings to continue the fight, right? Um, if I'm going to ask in that whole process, right, as in terms of getting the change that you're looking for or helping the people that you're helping, what do you think are the most effective things that activists or organizers, right, either one, what's the most effective ways, right, let's throw out the term activist, I guess, right now. What's the most effective ways to help people or to help society or to get the change that you're looking for? What do you think?
Get involved in some capacity. This is not a spectator sport. For me personally, get involved in civics of how the community works. Community means common unity. Know your neighbors. Run for county committee. Knock on your neighbor's door. Say hello. Good morning. I'm so and so. I do this, and then actually figure out how it works for you and find your voice. Most of the time, parents find their voice. Take me for example. You go to your kid's school, COVID lockdown. How come my niece doesn't have a tablet? That's Wi-Fi ready. Sorry, ran out. You see, that little disturbing things get you more into the process. Like, why? Well, we ran out. Well, she goes to the school. You have X amount of tablets. How's it possible for them to run out? Then you start looking at the educational system industry. Then school choice becomes real for me. Homeschooling doesn't seem such a satanic concept at this point. You start to realize that New York State actually pays more per child than any other state in the union. Why are schools like this? Then you start to see the political influence of who sits on the education committee and gets paid off and blah, blah. And on top of that, take a step back and do something different. Say, you know what? You come in my face every so often and yell, you need to vote. People die for voting. Well, guess what? Who should I vote for and why? Because if you can't answer that question, I'm not voting. Oh, I can't tell you about. Well, no, tell me who I should vote for. Otherwise, I'm gonna call Dion and he's gonna tell me. Oh, you know what? Why don't you tell me who's actually running on all sides? Do you know that? Well, if you can't tell me that, I'm not voting. How about that? And those little things in the system, you'll see how people react to you, family, friends. And you know what? Get out of your comfort zone. Turn on Fox News if you heard Fox News is evil and Tucker Carlson. You know what? Turn on the MSNBC. Watch Al Sharpton. Read something different in the newspaper. Google something and put a different country next to it. Change your Google options to a different country to see what the search engine will provide to you. Go to school. Don't go to school. Pick up a trade. Do things differently. But just stand back in your room one day and say, you know what? I'm going to go to Africa. I lost my mind from that situation running for office. And I said, I can't represent these people. They turned on me with George Floyd. And I said, you know what? No matter what, I'm going to Africa. I'm going to follow Dave Chappelle. Do what I got to do, go to Africa. I'm to Africa, clear my mind, travel, get outside of America, and look at it from a cesspool from another country, through other people's eyes. And if you can't, go to Atlantic City, get a free room, something, just get away, get connected with a higher power, and say, hey, everybody uses Jesus as the best example of a socialist or as a radical. Let me look into this Jesus guy. You might even be a Christian. Let me see what Jesus is doing. Oh, what Jesus is doing, why and how. And, see where your thing is. Maybe you want to be a Buddhist. And then see how the world will see you if you became a Buddhist to their eyes, or Muslim, that kind of thing. Because I've seen the greatest way someone can change their mindset is from belief in a higher power at this age. So those things will help you become an activist, I believe.
That's a cool answer. I appreciate that. Yeah. Now the thing is that a lot of people when they start their activist journey, right, and like I guess they're trying to get change with something that they cannot just achieve by themselves, right? So the thing is that people will often join different organizations trying to seek help. National Action Network, Blexit, whatever, right? Yeah. And I'm so glad you have so much experience with different organizations. Sometimes people join these organizations and they're like, well, the leadership's trying to tell me to do something I don't feel really agree with, or I want to, maybe they need some help. What are you, or sometimes there's infighting in the organizations, that happens a lot. Factions occur. what do you think are the best practices for people that are joining these organizations to look for, and what are the best practices for organizations to be effective?
Number one, just like with Blexit and National Action Network, Candace Owens and the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton are the mouthpieces. Any organization you go to, like a gang or like that, it's something beyond yourself. This is bigger than you. So, of course, read the mission statement. Know certain things, how the game is played. Don't worry about the mouthpiece. See what the organization is actually doing for the people through you and the organization, and tools and resources it gives you. But keep in mind that sometimes your professional skill set might be beyond people in the organization because it's a volunteer gig. National Action Network's problem I've discovered from talking to people and being involved is that you got too many people from the streets and beyond with titles that are not qualified to do it, know how to interact with people, resources, and tools. That's the problem with organizations. But then again, with Blexit, you might find commonality. But the thing is, don't put the organization so much in your heart you put it before God or yourself, or else you're mentally, emotionally attached to it. You might run for office in a position. You might start asking questions, and the organization and its leadership might turn on you in the cliquish environments, and you just up and leave. You curse everybody out. You become an obstruction to means, screaming, stuff like that. That's the thing, because anything you put before God is an idol, and it always will disappoint you. So, in the same token, the leadership of organizations actually know what you're doing. If you run for position, not just for power, know what it is. Read your bylaws. So, someone from the street can't just walk in and say, "Hey, what is this about?" And one thing for the leaders and members I say all the time with churches and boards is that the one question that will improve your organization, no matter what it is this: where is the money going? So always be overly transparent with the money of the organization. Have a budget meeting or finance committee meeting with the treasurer, explain this, that, and third. My salary, churches especially, houses works especially, so that way everybody feels included amongst the process. Make sure your flock from the church or the organization is eating. You could be a member volunteering, but if you're in a shelter, which happens most of the time, for the cause of your spirit, it's not good. So as an organization, you should be able to provide job readiness, start your business, connect people because they're a part of your social club, as it were, with certain positions and access to things to help them with their life. And that's what's most important on both ends. Because again, becoming
Yeah,
a lifestyle and stuff like that.
I really
And a
appreciate this. Really
family.
helped me to understand you much more as an activist. My interest is increasing. This is very good. Okay. Um, so what's your we're almost at the end of this interview, right? We may have another one coming up after this. We're definitely doing more material. Check it out, yeah. But what's your take on the current situation?
Okay, with the current situation. Now, Lee Zeldin is running for governor of New York State. Lee Zeldin had just had a shooting outside his house, so I hope he's all right. Because I was with him and his wife this morning. His wife is pretty cool. So I was talking to her today at the Bronx Columbus Day Parade. I was like, hey, your husband was talking about, your daughter just turned 16. That's the running joke. I said, yeah, he's always saying that with ha ha he. And, she said, we actually snuck out of the house today and left him alone to their homework as we're doing this Columbus Day stuff. And then it became real for me today when my friend sent me the press release from him talking about the shooting outside South. So I was like, oh my God, his wife just told me they left him home alone. They didn't tell them. And, all kinds of things went through my mind on behalf. So I prayed for him and his family. His wife was pretty cool. And the gravity of the situation now is New York City is imploding so much, it's going to make this man win, in my opinion, for governor. My current governor, Kathy Hochul, she has no real solutions, and she's doing a lot of dangerous things. And being in this realm of like-mindeds who actually read the New York State Constitution, read New York State election law, read the United States Constitution, read the New York City Charter, from first letter to last period, the Yoshino Yoda, these people know how it works and know what they're talking about, and feel with the facts over the feelings. So when I find out in these circles that she still has 3 emergency powers, she already canceled the COVID crisis emergency powers, but she still has emergency powers for polio, for monkeypox, and gun violence. They're still in the books. And it's like gun violence is out of control, and gun violence organizations make more money if gun violence goes up. So that's why grants is so dangerous. They keep you dependent on the problem instead of solving it. So imagine gun violence goes down, then people will take away the grant money. Like, you don't need this. And it's like, really? I hired all these employees. I had a anti-gang violence van. So back to Zeldin. Zeldin is at a crucial point of New York State's history, in which the history will make the man, and not the man make the history, because he's going to do a Pataki upset or a Giuliani upset, in which the climate is going to make him elevate to this position of power because so many people are disgusted. There are 3 things I reserve as a consultant. Number one, Black people, especially, aren't going to vote because they can't mentally vote for Republicans, and Democrats have failed them. Their vote is their voice, and their voice is not being heard through voting. I'm not voting. Voter turnout abysmal. Number two, people on the internet and social media have literally said, quote unquote, I am going to back the bullet, dot, 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 and vote Republican. That's going to push him over to the victory. Number three, a lot of people actually doing writing campaigns. They have no confidence in anybody, but they're going to do writing campaigns because they're programmed to vote. And all three of these things hurt the Democrats. Now, mind you, if Zeldin did Bloomberg, he put money out there, certain hands, organizations, ministers, then he get votes from the first people that are not voting. He get votes from writing campaigns by making sure all his governmental GOP clubs and Republican organizations are paid accordingly and spreading the creating tone the line, showing leadership that I have a slate. I'm the leader of the governor, but my lieutenant governor, my comptroller, my attorney general, my United States senator, my Congress people, all people running for office, communication is solid. And all those votes from the ground up go to him, push him on top. But his campaign is doing things differently. That means something I disagree with. But still, the word of mouth for the people coming out of their pocket, buying lawn signs, creating lawn signs, they're really pushing this man who's just stagnant and just in his box. But that's the urgency we're having here in New York City with these mandates. People are still being fired in court, and the mayor is still tight on the city workers having been vaccinated, whereas the private sectors he just lifted, sports figures he just lifted, performing artists he just lifted, and slowly but surely. But my thing is the current situation is to remind people what's going on. And 23 and 23 is my initiative. I'm starting to create a 501c4 fund to get a lot of people next year to run for city council because we can't really wait for Zeldin to win or lose this election. So I'm trying to get all the city council positions filled by people who are like-minded, that were affected by the mandates, and who just want to make a change, don't know how to run for office, kind of squeamish, interested, but know something has to be done as a community leader. So that's what I'm doing as my solution to the problem. And I'm part of it, whether an activist or not, community leader, community organizer, work with DJ Elf here on his platform, making sure our independent media like DJ Elf7's platform get out there to get our word out, because I can't call it censorship in the sense that on social media, you check up a box when you agree that all this content is theirs and they can block you and take things off. I can't be mad at that game. But as long as we actually take the initiative, like you, like Trump, like Rumble, actually create your own platforms of communications and get it out there. I'm proud of you, Dion, your viewers, and hopefully I inspire them. I'm Dion Powell, Dion at NYConsultant, singular.us, Dion at NYConsultant.us. I'm a consultant, use me, I'm a community leader. If you're in the Bronx, New York, hopefully I represent you. If not, I want to help our people of culture, not people of color. Let's take it to the next level, 23 and 23.
Okay, so you're super interesting. You have the you gave your email. Is there any other social media that you put on? How can people follow you? You know, or join maybe your organization, the Blexit thing. You said you have meetings.
All right, well, we have Blexit New York, the Blexit, Black Exit. You can go that on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, Blexit New York. I'm Dion Powell. You can search me there, or Dion J. Powell on those platforms as well, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Join the Bronx, New York Free Thinking Democrats. You know, drop your content in there, your business, your brand, or your political POV with articles. And that's how you can engage me. And, you know, I'll be in a fight with you. So you follow DJ Elf, you'll follow me. Hopefully he'll drop his content in my group. And if he has anything like this, I'll share, like, subscribe, and, you know, hashtag that kind of
Last
stuff.
question of this interview right here is, now that people have your information, what are your plans for the future? I know you dropped some of them, right? Yeah, what do they have to look forward to?
Oh, 23 and 23 is my initiative, my 501c4 I'm developing now, in which we're raising funds off the mandate narrative. People have been fired. You took our jobs. Now we're going to take yours by running for city council and make a change in New York City. So that's the initiative I'm working on right now.
All
Trying to
right.
get people on city council in New York City during a redistricting, during a year with everything's quiet, nobody knows if they can run for office. But this is the how to actually make a change by knowing about redistricting and the census and appropriations and earmarks and, you know,
Yeah.
discretionary funding
Couple
and
things I
all
want
those
to leave
things.
my viewers with just before we leave is, just so you know, this national election is a point of unique vulnerability, right? Yeah, because of the redistricting that happened after the census, and because of the fact that is in this every decade this happens, right? But the Democrats are weak, so like there's a chance to control, right, in the swing states what's going on. But his plan with the 501c4 and the 23 city council elections, this is also a unique point of vulnerability because a majority of the city council seats are flipping in this recent, within the couple election cycles. There's points, people say that they don't believe in the electoral process, whatever, right? It's just another tool. But there's certain points where your work will get you more gains. This is a very, right, so his plan right there is very timely and comes in at a very critical time. Also, my partner, she hasn't been on the show recently, Lisa from the West Coast, LA. She's actually building a homeschooling platform to help teach people, so they can actually get around the vaccine mandate, straight up. So I'm deep on that issue. I'm really looking forward to my future work with my man Dion right here. Yo, we about to eat this up out here in New York City. That's what's up. Yeah. Yeah. All right, so that's the interview. Any last words?
Stay safe, stay strong, and peace. I'm going.
Hell yeah.
It's a dark day in our nation when high-level authorities will seek to use every method to silence dissent. The truth must be told.
And if you want the truth, you need to check out independent media producers just like myself, DJ L7. You should subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notifications when I release a new video.
Truth of these
We are
words
on all
is
the major
beyond
platforms.
doubt.
That includes Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube. Unfortunately, we have definitely seen that these mainstream outlets will cave to corporate interests, so we encourage you to join our independently moderated communities of Reddit and Discord. We also encourage you to subscribe to us on BitChute and Daily Motion so you can see the content that YouTube doesn't want us to let you see. Hey, now it's time for the most important part of the video. That's right. It's time for us to tell you about the Taking Action group. Do you need an activist? Or maybe there's no activists around willing to help you with your cause and you need to learn to become an activist. That's exactly why we're here. Every week we get up with people from across the nation, in fact even sometimes internationally, and we develop strategies and a game plan to address the issues that are affecting all of us. Every week myself from New York City and of course my co-host Lisa from Los Angeles provide a coast-to-coast perspective on what's going on in the country. If you want to donate to help out with expenses, travel, equipment, stuff like that, then I definitely appreciate it, and you could hit us off at Venmo or PayPal. Thanks a lot. Hey, by the way, we also have a merch store, so check it out. Oh my goodness, it seems like you've reached the end of the video, so make sure you check out some of our other videos, make sure you subscribe. This is your last chance to do so thanks a lot, and looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please comment below if you have any questions or issues you'd like me to address. And if you're an activist, the time to make things happen is now.